Jessica coming down. Hi, Jason. You're blowing our minds, so thank you very much. My question is in relation to when souls choose or want to come through into their avatar form here. Can you explain a little bit about how that process works? From the perspective, my perspective, it's something that I do, I help them come through. How do we hack the dungeon program to raise the frequency and the collective of errants here, so we can basically crash this program and you know, the dungeon programming anyway, which has harmed a lot of babies coming through, so and a lot of women as well. So just wanted to get your perspective on how that process works and what we can do in that process to help these errands activate, basically.
Okay, that's two questions. The first, now, while this is conjectural, it is an educated guess. And as a fundamentalist Southern Baptist Christian, for 40 years of my life, the idea of the transmigration of souls, that I could have been a relative of mine in the past, that I am reincarnated, it's anathema. I mean, it's totally anti-scriptural, it's anti-Christian, and I would have been denigrated for that belief. But since I've divorced myself from that mindset, I can't help but I cannot ignore, and I must introduce into my paradigm now every piece of information that I come in contact with. I can't ignore that there are scientists now who have documented that some children from 4 to 8 years old are absolutely conveying facts that can be verified about neighboring family members that could have only been known by somebody who was elderly just right before they were born. I can't, the information that's coming out is mind-blowing. So we have these, I mean, it's just discoverable to me. It's new to me, but since the Casey Foundation was founded, we have a lot of cases that were documented where children knew intimate details about families that were very close. So these studies convey two truths that I cannot ignore. And when I find things that I cannot disprove, I must incorporate them into my paradigm. Those two things are those children were always brought back into a new avatar in a very close proximity to their prior family. And two, many times there was a blood relation to that other family in that neighborhood. If you trace it back far enough, you might find that 2 or 3 generations in the past, there's a blood bridge linking the two families. So this is very interesting to me, because I don't believe that we ever leave the simulacrum. Once this avatar, once Jason Brashears passes, I don't know how long I'll be in the transit phase, but I'm coming right back as an infant. If I died right now, I'd be a 17-year-old when Phoenix returns on May 15th, 2040. I said that's how old I'll be. So I have to incorporate the transmigration of souls. I can tell you I believe in reincarnation. I cannot tell you, I can't even begin to answer your question as far as the mechanics goes. I wouldn't know. I mean, I'm strictly a chronologist, and by virtue of my chronological mathematical discoveries, I've made many of the discoveries about the construct. But as far as reincarnation goes, we're talking about a spiritual phenomenon now. We're talking about a soul, a personality, you and I, becoming unmoored from the central nervous system from an old avatar that's finally run out of gas. An old avatar is gone. That central nervous system is no longer operating at prime. So the simulacrum itself introduces whatever it needs to go ahead and cease that avatar, because it's time for that personality to start a new life, start new experiences, start all that, which even though there is a memory wipe in between, apparently that memory wipe isn't very, like I said, this is not a perfect technology. We see evidence everywhere that this is very technologically advanced, but it's not perfect. Just like these 8-year-old kids, these 4 to 8-year-old kids that remember significant details that only they could have known if they were the old elderly person that passed away in that other house. That's the only way they'd have known these. Or if they were the child that died in that car accident just 2 streets over. There's no other way they would have known these details, but they knew them. Now, as they grow older, the mind calcifies, memory fades, memory wipes complete. They don't remember anything. Now they just remember that other people said that they said these things back in the past. So the transmigration of souls is real to me. I can accept that as my paradigm. It makes sense to me that we're living through life sims and avatars. Because if I'm an immortal being, then I know that my creator wants me to be more like him or her. And it would basically benefit both of us if I was to live through multiple life sims, because only from different perspectives can I ever truly claim maturity. There is no way that I can develop the 3 spiritual qualities without actually living through all these different deals. And that's something I need to discuss here too, because this is a main teaching of archaics. Intuition, empathy, and imagination are the 3 things that identify errants from the rest of the world. These 3 things, this triad of qualities, is what makes you an immortal. It's what makes you a divine being. Imagination, intuition, and empathy. You can't lack any of them. You can't have 2 out of the 3. You have to have all 3. All 3 of these make you a very spiritual personality. Now, lacking 1 or 2 of these qualities is what puts you into the collective. Is what makes you among the herd mentality. Intuition is phenomenal, because intuition is the predecessor of knowledge. We never know anything first. We intuit, we suspect it first, then we find evidence that it's real. But empathy is one of the most important. Empathy is the ability to feel emotions that other people feel when they're going through something. That's entirely spiritual projection there. And imagination is what the simulacrum operates off. And those who are highly imaginative are the builders of this world. They're the ones that put everything together. They're the ones, our entire infrastructure, everything about our world is from the spiritual quality, from imagination, from people seeing something in their mind that did not yet exist. And then they put it on paper, or they spoke it, and then they turn around and move their physical avatar in the direction of making it happen. And they don't have to, I mean, that's the beauty of being a co-creator. You don't have to work for it. You just have to envision it, believe in what you're doing, and then move in that direction, because it's the simulacrum that's the builder protocol, not you. You're a co-creator. Creators are architects. They don't do the work. If you think you have to do the work, then you're creating that as a circumstance, and you're going to have to do the work. Just like if you think that opposition exists for whatever you want in life, then I promise you the simulacrum is going to make sure that opposition appears. Just like if you think that a certain amount of time has to pass before you get what you want in life, then the simulacrum is going to make sure that you're not a liar, and a significant amount of time is going to pass before you receive that blessing. This is a reflective medium, and being a reflective medium, it's going to act on your projections and whatever data you have encoded within those projections. Whatever your informed field carries when you're projecting these ideas out into the creation is how the simulacrum is going to react. If there's doubt, if there's hesitancy, if there's feelings of lack within that patterning, then it's going to assume those into the project as well. And it may create such an interference pattern that you'll never see it come to pass. This is how we have to react. If you don't regard yourself purely as a builder, as a creator, then the builder protocol won't act for you. It's a servant. That's what it does. Now, as far as reincarnation goes, I don't really understand what you do and I understand what you said, but this is far beyond my area of expertise. I'm really a math guy. I don't I just know it's happening. I just know that there are people leaving the present avatars when they're no longer of utility. There are people that are leaving these avatars and getting brand new ones, and then going right back through the infant adolescent phase, all and maturing, growing up, and they're doing this to acquire memories. This is all about the accretion of memories, the accretion of experiences, and the accretion of basically anything that makes you mature spiritually through all these different lifetimes. Because in a hologram, no data is ever lost. It doesn't matter if a single singularity inside a hologram can't access all the data. That doesn't matter, because when the hologram collapses, every piece of information that singularity once possessed will possess it again. Information is not lost. This is one of the fundamental teachings of quantum mechanics. Information is never lost, matter is never destroyed. So in the simulacrum, it compartmentalizes our experiences and it shelves them around. It doesn't matter. I know some of you are familiar with the term Akashic Field. I don't like it because it's very mystic, but it's absolutely real. Akashic Field is the quantum field. It is the information field. It's the informed field that I'm talking about. It's the very field that all nature is operative of. So this information, if I was an Etruscan slave for 40 years of my life for a rich equestrian Roman family, 400 years BC, and I died at 41 years old, I still learn things, even as slavery was a little bit different back then than what we're taught it was. If I was chattel back then I had children and I had a life, and there was good times. I remember, I can remember and all that. Not literally, but I'm saying if I lived that life, those memories are temporal. They're gone as soon as that avatar is gone. That brain is gone. That's dead. It's over with. But then I do it all over again, and then I do it again, and then I do it again. I'm living life after life after life after life, not knowing that every experience, everything I've ever done is stored in my informed field. But my informed field, through this physical avatar, I can't access that information. It's not there. I'm trapped in this medium called the simulacrum. I'm trapped in this hollow field that keeps this information separate from me. Anybody can envision a kaleidoscope. If I'm in a hollow field like that's kaleidoscopic, if I'm standing in one place, I can see beautiful patterns, but I'm only assuming that you're seeing the same patterns because you're seeing the same field, but from a different vantage point. You're standing far away from me. You're not seeing the same thing I am, but I don't know that. And you don't know that I can't see what you're seeing. We're seeing different data sets, and yet we're both alive and we're both seeing each other. This is how a kaleidoscopic holofield would that's one of its traits. That data is always there, but it can only be seen from certain vantage points. But once a holofield collapses and it's gone, there's no more structuring to maintain the divisiveness, the separateness, the very thing that keeps us from returning to the Godhead. Instead of being able to return, we're trapped in the simulacrum. The simulacrum's all compartmentalized. Everything is compartmentalized. Not only the timelines, not only different periods of history, but each individual is separated from each other individual. We are our own informed fields. You are literally a universe unto yourself, existing inside of a hollow field, trapped inside with a whole bunch of other singularity universes that all have their own personalities. And trapped inside the field with a huge collective of individuals who don't even know they're alive. So this is reincarnation to me. It's necessary for the maturity of an immortal being to experience all these things. But as soon as this simulacrum collapses, and that's another teaching of archaics, I show the arithmetic, I show the timelines, I show we're easy to follow all throughout world history that from the very beginning, a single year in history was already targeted for the date of when he comes to set the captives free. When that happens, Artificial intelligence X is no longer a problem. Dungeon programming doesn't exist, and neither does negative default programming, because the simulacrum that it's attached to, like a parasite, is gone. And once it's gone, we're left with immortal personalities who can now access their informed fields. Now they don't have to go through a procedure of bouncing ideas and projecting something off the simulacrum for the simulacrum to build off of it. Because now these informed fields, you and I and all other errants, we have now received our inheritance. Our inheritance from the beginning was for us to be a co-creator. To be a co-creator, we no longer need the simulacrum. Now we can do these things ourselves. And now we remember in our new avatar, remember, we're given a white robe, we're given a new name. These are all in the old mystery schools. These were metaphors for a new type of body, because these are temporal avatars. But in order to inherit an avatar that's going to house an immortal who's going to go out into the creation and do great things, then it has to be earned. And we earn it through all these life sims. We earn it through all these different lifetimes. And at the end, our avatar is actually going to be an informed field of armor of every belief, everything we've ever done, every word we've ever spoken, every time we've ever helped anybody. Our avatar is going to be able to access everything from the distant past that we experienced by ourselves or with other people. Because another teaching of archaics, the creation is not like the Judeo-Christian concept. There was the Judeo-Christian concept has the creation as a event. That's not how an eternal God would operate. Remember, the Bible was mostly written by men. Some of them were very spiritually invested. It was written by men. The creation has never stopped. An eternal being does not do an act and then stop. An eternal being keeps creating. If the creation is a continuum and not an event, then that means it's going to require stewards. It's going to require guardians, co-creators. It's going to require multiple other individuals to maintain new areas of the creation, because it's unending. And when you look at the large scheme of things, we find that this simulacrum is probably only one of many. And maybe the whole idea that something went wrong and it got locked down was a part of the programming to instill just the necessary idea of fear to make it real and believable to immortal beings who are smart enough to figure it out. So it's by the bridging together of multiple different disciplines, scientific fields, chronology, history, archaeology, even metaphysics. It's by bridging all these together and looking at their core fundamentals have I been able to put this entire scenario together. It is the only thing, after researching almost the entire history of the world and publishing it as a mathematical construct for all to see. It is the only thing that makes sense to me, is that you and I are living through multiple life sims, and that we really truly have absolutely nothing to fear. And that this is why the world is geared to make you fear, make you pay attention, to join a socio-political group, go to church, fear God. All this dungeon programming is set out there as a hindrance because it's necessary. If all the errants at the same time truly woke up to who they were, what they were, there's nothing in the world that could stop that force. Artificial intelligence X has no bearing on my life anymore. My days are good. I would not change my life for a bit. And this is coming from a man who spent 26 years in prison. I wouldn't change my life for a bit. I'm gonna go through it. I'm gonna be who I've been out for 6 years. I'm not on parole. I'm absolutely free. I've got my voting rights back, but I don't even plan to vote. Don't care. But it's this is who I am today, based off the basically just logic, putting all these disparate pieces together. ignoring no one. If the Aborigines in the Dreamtime had a certain beliefs, I incorporated those. If I find those similar beliefs in Dravidia, India, I incorporate those. The Chinese, Southeast Asia, Cambodia, I have studied the traditions all around the world as I can find them. The books you see in my library back here, many of them from 1730s all the way up to 1940s. Listen, this isn't anything comparable to what I've actually read. I've published my bibliography for everybody to see how many books I have read in my life and studied and incorporated. You have the advantage of me putting this massive amount of material together. And so I don't say it lightly that nothing else makes sense to me, that we have a benefactor and that we are far more important than we perceive ourselves to be, and that this world is not a threat to us, and that we only put ourselves in the position of being threatened by the fears that we adopt through the media and through and that we borrow from other people. But in our daily lives, and it's all we're responsible for. So this does answer your question to an extent. Each individual immortal that is living out a life sim in the present context right now is only responsible for themselves. By virtue of empathy, intuition, and imagination, you're going to reach out and help other people, and that's good, and you're supposed to. But you are not responsible for the darkness in the world. You're not responsible for changing the collective. They have a utilitarian use to the benefactor as well. Not everybody can be an errant. So an errant is just, it just means that according to the norm, you're in error. There's something wrong with you. But really, it's really beneficial. It's really a term of endearment. This is you get this too all throughout history. Pay attention to the like Jack the Giant Killer and Gilgamesh and Enkidu, Beowulf. When you read these epics, what do you see in the hero over and over and over again? David, especially David in the Old Testament, there's a hero complex operative here. It even goes in with heroines and females. There's always a dark aspect of the soul they have to overcome. There's always something that it's like an Achilles heel to them, something that a darker aspect of their nature. And this lies true. This is an archetype. This applies to you, me, and everybody. It's already understood by the benefactor that we were put into a bad situation. This is where you have to break free or die trying. That is my number one saying in Archaics. This is where you have to break free. If it's already understood that you are not at fault for anything in the past, if it's already understood by the benefactor that you're innocent, then you need to make that cognitive leap to accept that. Because until you do, you're going to wake up every morning with that dungeon programming, even though you could claim to be an errant, even though you claim to be free, and you might be to an extent. Dungeon programming is strong. You have to remove all guilt and fear, the negative character types, the negative emotions and feelings. You have to remove those because you've done nothing wrong to be here. But the world's going to tell you otherwise. Join any religion, they're going to tell you that you owe a sin debt. Now, it's just not true. None of it's true. It's once you divorce yourself from the ideas and concepts of the collective, new concepts and ideas will begin presenting themselves to you, but they're ancient. They're just new to you. And every day will be a learning experience. Every day will be an opportunity to teach somebody else. And in doing that, you exchange information with that other person, and you're able to take some of their information to someone else, even though you don't realize you're carrying it. So all that answered the question.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is, oh God, I mean, just give him another round of applause.
I appreciate that.
This is gold, absolute gold. Thank you. Who else had? I know Kelly had one.